Oh, yeah. We still got a couple minutes.
I got 5:14.
Yeah.
I got 5:15.
I got 5:15. Let's go.
We'll call this regular meeting of Board of Aviation Commissioners for Warsaw to order on this Wednesday, May 21st. I think we need to recognize that all the board members are present, and Linda Cease and Kelsey are present. And we have Mr. Sloan from the press, and Mr. Wilkins, and Josh Finch present. So, has everybody had a chance to look at the minutes from the last meeting?
I'm just finishing it up, and everything looks okay to me. So I make a motion to accept the minutes as presented.
I will second it.
All right, do we have any discussion? All right, all in favor of approving the minutes from the last meeting of the April 8th meeting, signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay? None. Okay. That takes care of the April minutes. Now, approval of claims. Where are
Let me
those
pull
at?
those back up here.
There they are.
Really, the only big ones out of the ordinary, Daniel will have to abstain this month. We had Robinson Construction come out. We were having an issue with the Zimmer Biomet door. One of the motors was not working correctly, and Dan's engineer, Nick, who helped us with, design and build that project, checked into it, and there was some warranty work that needed to be done. And so we just went ahead and did our annual preventative maintenance on the door at the same time as that warranty work on the motor. The factory changed their specs. The way I understand it, they changed their specs after the door was installed on the type of grease to be used in that motor. And so we just sent it in, and they fixed that motor and got it back to us of no charge. So that $3,987 is just all of the preventative maintenance that we do every year on the door. And it's making sure all of the different webbings, I think there's 20 or 25 straps that lift the door up and down. Those have to be adjusted, and then all of the torques need to be checked. And so we figured if the door was going to be down for a couple days while that motor was getting worked on, we would just go ahead and do the annual maintenance on the door at the same time.
And grease the hinges.
Grease the hinge, yep, all that good stuff.
Bearings.
Yep. So we had our annual visit from NOAC Supply Company. They take care of all of the airport's fire extinguishers. There is one fire extinguisher that is at our fuel farm that we're trying to figure out. It needs to be refilled, but the state changed the rules, and we can no longer transport that one extinguisher unless we have the original box for the extinguisher. And it was put in with the fuel farm in '97, so obviously we don't have the original packaging for it. And so NOAC has reached out to their partners at the state to try and figure out how they can transport that safely to and from the airport, or to their offices to get that serviced. It's still operational, but we do need to figure something out this year on it.
They can't fill it on site?
Because it's a halon bottle, they have to release the actual halon from the tank, capture it, do some, I'm not sure exactly what they have to do for the maintenance on it. It's the 10-year maintenance on it's a big 100-pound fire bottle that's out at the fuel farm because we have so much fuel out there. So they have to release the gas, capture it, and then recharge the tank, and they can't do that on a truck with a bottle that size. And then other than that, pretty standard month, unless you guys have a specific question on something.
Accent Aviation, what's that purchase encompass?
Was that 2 loads of, Ascent Aviation, one load of Jet A, one load of 100 low lead. The Jet A was $20,866.97, and the 100 low lead is $34,948.58.
Okay. All right, do I hear a motion to approve the claims?
I move we accept the claims, especially the $56,255.58 for Accent Aviation and $595 for Camp Software and the $270 for the Indiana Department and Environmental Management.
Okay, do I hear a second?
I hear a second.
All right, Gene seconded. Any further discussion, questions?
Yeah, I just have one question. Why does the amount of the charges and the amount of the payments not match?
On which one, Steve?
You're right.
Ascent Aviation Group?
Because
Okay.
those extra two things.
He's looking at these two lines here,
Paid more than charged.
Let me see.
right there. It's about $390 or something.
That's a good catch.
These two. Do you know, Linda?
Is it-
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
No, there was an update to the user software for $50, and we had to purchase 2 filters for $390.
So that
I apologize.
wasn't put on the charge.
It's just built into the bill. We did not separate those out because it's all going to Ascent Aviation. So there was one load of Jet A, one load of 100 low lead, the,
Pass that
the
down.
software charge, as well as the 2
Oh,
filters.
Okay, the first one. I'll take your word for it.
So
Sorry.
the actual number, you want to revise your motion?
Yeah, so what is the actual number then? Which one?
The 56,
The
255.
56, 255, that's the one I
Yes.
used.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, we're good then.
And Steve, I'm not sure why our POS rang it up that way, so I will look into that and hope, I'll try and get you an answer on that.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any further
I don't know
questions?
why they didn't say it yet.
All in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
Okay, I abstain. Any opposed? None.
That's good.
Hopefully I work my pen dry.
I didn't vote.
You don't need to sign it. Yep. And they need to sign these. Oh, yeah. You need to sign, you all need to sign those. You don't need to sign those, no.
You guys need to sign those.
Okay. Engineers report.
Right. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Robert?
Excellent. First thing, I need to put a little egg on my face. I messed up last month. Just a little bit of a miscommunication with a lot of folks in the office, putting together the engineer's report. I saved over what was a really good job by one of our engineers with the previous month's board report. And so I really smoothly got you guys to approve March invoices 2 times. And I failed to get you guys April's invoices. So during this month's engineer's report, I need to introduce both March and April, or April's and some new invoices for work completed during the last month. So I apologize for that. That was 100% on me. But we do have good news to report. So construction on the runway 27 obstruction mitigation project, the AEP power lines, is now substantially complete. Nick did send me a photo. Nick, I cannot open an HEIC
I'll see.
photo on my computer for some reason. So if you
No.
were able to pull that up, that'd be super.
I will at some point.
Okay. So AEP is working on demobilization as we speak. CHA, we're working to get some of the final as-built elevations for the tower for record information. For the airspace that we did for this project, we do need to make sure that what was built out there is accurate and will still serve, the airport the way we intended it to at the beginning of this project. So there is in CHA's contract some as-built survey that we need to get completed this month that we'll have to the board next month. So we are working with AEP on that. One of the main items, as part of the original contract, there was a line item that was called a CIAC gross up tax. And essentially the FAA was reluctant to put that in the grant. It was in the grant. But we needed to make sure that if we were going to use that dollar value, that we needed to have some backup. And so as part of the construction, AEP does need to use some of that CIAC gross up tax line item. That line item is $586,000. We don't have the final number for that. That'll be part of the June board meeting. But it's looking like the total value of the contract is gonna be about between $150,000 and $180,000 under the original cost estimate for the grant. And a lot of that has to do with, in the original grant, a lot of these construction dollars and material procurements were estimates. And that was completed 4 years ago. And so now 4 years later, we have actual construction costs and material costs. And I think the win here is that the fact that we're still coming in under $150,000+ on an estimate that was done 4 years ago is a really solid plus
It's a minor.
for the project in the airport. So during the June board meeting, we will have final invoices and board action on this grant to meet the June 25th, 2025 grant deadline. So we're doing a lot of work now to make sure that we can meet that deadline for the grant for the 27 obstruction project. With that, we have obviously a lot of motions, as you can see on the screen. But perhaps one of the more important ones is we do need to make a motion for board approval to void the April board meeting approval of CHA invoices 58412.2-18 and 19, and a total amount of $15,047.99. And that is $15,047.99 and $3,421.58 for 18 and 19 respectively. And this was due to me having an errant duplication of these invoices, which were previously approved during the March board meeting.
So we'll take
Does that
it,
make?
yes, we'll take it one at a time, Robert, okay?
Yeah.
To entertain a motion to void those two invoices that he just referenced, 58412.2-18 and 19.
I make that motion.
All right, do I hear a second?
Second.
All right, Steve second. Are there any further questions or explanations needed?
I would just like to clarify as well, we caught this before sending out the check, so we don't need to worry about, trying to get reimbursement or anything like that. Linda and I didn't think it looked right, but we just, in the middle of the meeting, we didn't have the backup paperwork, and when we checked everything over the next morning, we realized what had happened. So we're just voiding what you guys approved last month so that our minutes will reflect for this meeting that we did not pay those invoices twice.
Gotcha, okay.
All right.
And the total on that is 18,500?
Give or take, yep.
Yeah, okay.
So, all in favor of the motion signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? None? All right, all in favor, that motion. All right, Robert.
Excellent. And for the work completed since March, the March board meeting, really the February board meeting, we have 4 invoices. So I need to make a motion for board approval on Dan's signature on THA invoice 58412-2-20 in the amount of $9,398.26, and that local share is $469.91.
So moved.
All right, John moved. Do I hear a second?
Second?
Steve second. All right, any discussion?
No,
What was this invoice for, Robert?
Invoice 20 is for CHA's work completed in March, and invoice 21 is CHA's work completed in April.
Okay.
That is correct. Yep.
Same thing with the next 2 AEP invoices, it's the March and April invoices.
Okay. Any questions on that? All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? All right. All right, 58412.2-20 is approved. All right, Robert, next.
All right, so that, we got 20 and 21, is that, or we just got 20?
Just 20, now we need 21.
So we need a motion for board approval and Dan's signature on CHA invoice 58412-2-21 in the amount of $6,581.74, and that is a local share of $329.09.
Okay,
So moved.
John moved. Second?
Second.
Who seconded? I did. Steve. Steve again. All right. Any questions on this one? All right, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
None opposed. All right.
Before we go on to the next 2, Robert, I have a
Yeah.
question. On the invoice from ADP, they have the same invoice number. Is that valid?
So the first one, yeah, that should be 21551710.
Can you change that, Robert?
We will, yeah.
State that again.
The first one is 21557170, Nathan.
21551710.
Good eye, John.
Catch.
Then the second one is 7360?
It is. yeah.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Proceed, Robert.
Yeah, let me just throw that in here real quick and then I can read it correctly. All right. So we need a motion for board approval on Dan's signature on AEP invoice 385-215551710 in the amount of $3,542,303.92. And that is a local share of $171,115.20. And I know that we do this every time, but we do have, this is what Nick worked with the county for, to be able to cover the costs locally.
Thank you, guys.
All right, do I hear a motion on that?
So moved.
All right, John moved to approve AEP 385-2155-1710. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Gene seconded. Any questions? All right, all in favor signify by aye. Aye. None opposed. All right. All right, Robert.
And the last motion for the 2-7 obstruction project is a motion for board approval and Dan's signature on AEP invoice 385-21557-360 in the amount of $1,217,975.95. And that local share is $60,898.80, and this represents the work through April.
Okay, do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Steve, second.
Second.
John? Any questions? All right, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All,
That's for all four.
none opposed. All right.
Will we be getting more invoices on this project?
We'll have
Yes.
one more,
AEP, one more?
and
One
then
more, June will be the last one. And that one will probably be somewhere.
You can sign right above it, because I know the yellow doesn't sign very well.
400,000+ for AEP. So, when we say substantially complete, essentially, all of the construction is complete. There will be some additional work for testing of the power lines. So a lot of the additional construction dollars that would be reallocated from the SAG gross up tax to construction line items would be for those items.
Okay.
Okay.
Robert, I emailed you that picture if you can pull it up.
Yeah, hang on just a second. I have not received, ooh, yeah, I did. Okay, I got a JPEG. There we go.
I figured you could open that.
I can do JPEGs.
That
So
was,
as you can see on the screen, that is the umbrella looking poles are what AEP calls their new bulb line. And then they have two transition poles before and after to bring the lines down from the existing higher poles and then back up on the other side. On the back, you can kind of
I was
see
gonna
the-
say, if you zoom in, you can see that all the way in the back, what the
I wonder what
old,
those were for.
you can see
Yeah.
how much shorter the lines are.
Ah,
Nice.
looks nice.
The farmer was happy they were able to get the field planted already too, so,
Saw that.
yep.
How far are those bottom ones from the ground now?
50 feet, they're the same height, 50 feet.
50 feet?
National Electric Code doesn't allow this bottom of the sag to be any lower than 50 feet.
Hmm.
So really, we just cut the top
Just
down.
at the top.
But by doing so, we had to add more poles because
Right.
we're basically getting rid of the sag,
Right.
Yeah.
so,
A little tighter.
yep. They jokingly told us at the beginning, they said, we could make the top of them 50 feet, but you'd have to have a pole about every 50 feet. You don't want to pay for that.
No.
So, this worked out.
So we're below the limits now where we need any
Yeah.
balls or anything?
Yep. Well, no, balls will be put up. Robert, is that
That
November?
should happen before October.
October, yeah. I
Probably.
think that's happening in October.
Okay. And lights?
No lights.
No lights.
We will have 2 lit towers at the end of this, on the north side.
That's less expense right now. We don't have to
Yep.
maintain those lights.
Yep.
Those weren't cheap.
No. They're still close enough that we're,
Well,
that we have to
In-
maintain them, or can they go away?
Once we have the runway extension, one of them will be able to be removed. The other one penetrates, I think, by a foot. And so,
Horizontal surface.
yeah, so we're
Yeah.
gonna have a conversation to see if we can
GPS is
eliminate
off.
that. Yeah.
Okay.
Was I right on that, Robert? Is it like with the ultimate length, it's like a foot or something?
Yeah, it's about a foot. Maybe we can get the runway high enough.
Yeah.
I'll leave that up to Nathan. Yeah. If we can't, blame Nathan.
Yep.
It's on public record now. Excellent. All right. I'm gonna hand it over to Nathan for the next couple, especially the 927 safety area project.
All right. Real quick before we jump into that one, Nick, did you want to bring up at this point any type of ribbon cutting or grand opening for the power line project?
Thank you for reminding me, Nathan. I had that written down and forgot about it already. So, yes, I would like to get that scheduled. We'll chat at the end of the meeting. Let's put a pin in that because we may need to move the June board meeting depending on quorum. Dan let me know that he will not be here for our normal scheduled meeting. So unless everybody else is here, we'll have to look at rescheduling that and then try and get something planned for a ribbon cutting for that next month sometime.
Great.
All right. So the runway 927 safety area project, the program definition, so we had a little bit of movement here in the last few weeks. We were able to engage the FAA with a review meeting on May 8th and got a handful of comments. I think mostly were relatively minor, but really to do with runway 1836 and how we work to maximize the amount of pavement that we can leave in place based on the aligned taxiway configurations on each end. So I think we're in a good spot. We're in the process of making those edits and incorporating those final comments. And we're looking to turn that back around to the FAA as a final submittal next month. So no board action on this item, just a general project update. Yeah, Rob, can you scroll down? So no update really with the wildlife hazard site visit. That is still in the FAA's court for review and comment. On to the corporate taxi lane Echo 1 project. So Fenton Brown is anticipating to be back out to finish up some of the remaining work, primarily the seal coating and final paint. They'll be out next Saturday, May 31st, weather permitting, to apply the final seal coat. There will be about a 30-day period where we won't be able to apply the final markings just because the seal coat material has to cure about 30 days before we can put any paint down. So, but the end is near, and this one we do have board action where we would request board approval and signature on invoice 58412.6-11 in the amount of $6,133.50. And just a reminder, this is a state-funded program with no local match, so the entire invoice amount is covered by the state grant.
All right, do I hear a motion to approve this invoice?
So moved.
All right, John moved.
Second.
Gene second. Any questions? I have a question, Robert.
Yeah.
This invoice, is this CHA invoice or Finn and Brown?
This is CHA.
Okay.
Yep, CHA's invoice.
Okay.
All right. It's for grant administration and project management.
Okay. Does,
Any other questions?
yeah, any other questions? All right, all in favor signify by aye.
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 None opposed? Approved. All right.
Okay, moving on to taxiway B rehabilitation. So, making a lot of progress on this project. We've got final plans that were submitted May 12th, and the project is currently out to bid. And there is a pre-bid meeting that is scheduled for tomorrow. I forget the time, Nick.
3 p.m.
3 p.m. So we have a bid opening that is planned for June 5th. So that'll be on us here pretty quick. But all this is in rapid succession in order to meet the end of June deadline for having our grant application in to the FAA and NDOT for this project. So we will anticipate bringing the recommendation of award to the next board meeting and seek approval, presuming we get favorable bids and we're able to move forward. So we do have a few items here for board action. So first up is board approval to void the April board meeting approval of CHA invoice 58412.7-5 in the amount of $22,385.70.
Okay, do I hear a motion to void this invoice from last month?
I make the motion.
Gene, motion, second?
Second.
Steve seconds. Questions? Okay, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye. Gene?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous, none opposed. Okay.
All right, next up is motion for board approval and Dan's signature on CHA invoice 58412.7-6 in the amount of $59,695.20. And of that is a local share of $2,984.76.
Okay, do I hear a motion to approve CHA invoice 58412.7-6?
I make that motion again.
All right, Gene, News, second?
Second.
Steve, John, I'm sorry, second. Any questions?
No.
All right, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All right, unanimous, none opposed. All right, Robert.
Last up, for this project, so we have a motion for board approval and Dan's signature on CHA invoice 58412.7-7 in the amount of $22,385.70, of which is a local share of $1,119.29.
And I will just say that is not a typo. I know it's the same amount as the one you just voided. That was a percentage of the project was complete. I asked that question when we were going over everything this
Yeah.
morning, so it just happenstance they were the same number, so.
It's a penny off.
Excuse me, it's a pen, the local share's a penny off, but the invoice amount's the same.
All right, do I hear a motion for approval of CHA invoice 58412.7-7?
I make that motion.
All right, Gene, second?
Second.
John seconds. Any questions? All right, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous, none opposed.
And just real quick, the airport overlay district, which is task order number 10, we finally have a meeting set up, which is May 29th, in person with city and county representatives. So that'll include Kosciuszko County, city planner, or county planner, mayor, city attorney, city planning, and that is essentially to go over what Nick has already approved, our proposal on the airport overlay district, and working with the city and county on what steps we need to take to help implement the new AOD. So that, we should have some more updates on that for the June board meeting. And then jumping down to the 927 project, Nathan.
Yeah, sure. So similar to the tax OAB rehab, we've been moving this project forward in pretty rapid succession. So final issued for bid plans were submitted March 28th, excuse me. we went through a public bidding process and opened bids on May 6th of this month. And Fenton Brown is the apparent low bid. We received 2 bids in total. Right now, the construction is anticipated to start in mid-June and go through the end of July. So with that, obviously, we have several board action items related to this project. So first up is the motion for board approval to void April board meeting approval of CH8 invoice 58412.11-3 in the amount of $28,333.20.
All right, John made the motion to approve voiding that invoice,
Second.
58412.11-3. Gene, second. All right. Any questions? All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
And before we go any further, can we have a review of what this project is going to entail?
Absolutely. So in general, the project is.
Nathan, real quick, can we finish the motion to void it, and then we'll get
Oh,
into
yeah.
that?
Oh, I'm sorry,
Yep.
yes.
Yes, yeah.
We'll answer that question. That's the next
I
bullet
didn't hear
point.
your answer, Steve, I'm sorry. On the
To
motion.
what?
On that motion to void.
Oh, I'm sorry, aye.
Aye, okay, unanimous then. All right,
Sorry, Nathan.
Oh, that's okay.
I just figured it would be a little bit easier with the, talking about the amendment number 1, we could bring up that drawing and that Mary shot over, just to make it a little easier for visuals.
Sure. Gosh, where did that go?
question with regard to scope.
Yeah. No, he's talking the document. I just asked him if Robert can pull it up.
Yeah, looking at the, was that in the task order amendment?
Yeah. Should be, I think, page 3.
Rob, I'm gonna steal screen here for a minute. Yep.
So that's a great question, John.
Yeah,
Well, and
so,
along with that question also is, I assume this is going to shut down 927 for that entire period of time?
Correct. So go ahead, Nathan.
I'm
yeah,
sorry.
yeah, so, when we initially set out on this project, ideally, we were looking at the entire runway length, and so when I described the elements, if you can envision, the idea was to do as much as possible, as much as that we could afford to do. But generally, we're looking at a 2-inch mill and overlay on the entire surface. And so what you see on screen, the purple limits, that's approximately the area that we were calling the base bid. And so that motion that I'll read here in just a minute to award Fenton Brown, that their contract would be just for the base bid. Essentially what we did was bid the project in thirds. With this magenta area as a base bid, the middle third as a additive, and the eastern third as a second additive.
And if I can step
So-
in, the reason we did it that way, there were 2 different grants that I was going for with the state, to just try and help get this project done in 1 calendar year instead of phasing it out over 2 or 3. With some changes in the state legislature and how that money was being spent, they didn't give any airports any money. And so we were unsuccessful with those 2 grants. One of them would have paid for the whole runway, would have given us the extra money we thought we would need to do the whole runway. The other grant would have given us that that middle third. We would have been able to do 2/3 of the runway. That's why we broke it out into 3 different groups like that. So the nice part is it's already designed. So next year, if there's additional money in the state that we can tap into and finish all of it in 1 year, we will. But that's why we designed it the way we did.
I assume this section is worst.
Correct. Yep. We are going worst to best. That's why we're going west to east.
Yeah.
Yep.
Looking
And
at,
I did mention as well, so we do have quite a bit of deep patching to address some of the transverse cracks that make this runway more of a washboard than I think we care to admit, so.
And Steve, what was your question?
yeah, the next 4 motions are to approve invoices that total just over $1 million, all of which is local responsibility. Where's that money coming from?
So that, to approve the recommendation for the amount of the 874,951.60 is the construction portion of the project. And then the amendment of 101,852, that's where we're going back to the county for that money that they had promised us through their edit fund. And we'll be getting those funds here shortly.
So we have to advance the money and then go back to the county to get it back?
Well, we haven't spent it yet. So this is just these motions would be approving the base bid for that project. And then once this has been accepted, then we can go back to the county and say, this is the project cost. And here's we're asking for the 500,000 that you guys had pledged last year.
So the ultimate goal is to split this 50/50 with the county?
It'll be close to that. The city will have a little bit more in it than the county will.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Good question.
Okay. Any questions on the scope of work?
Did that answer your questions?
Yeah, that's fine.
And if the board wants to wait, they have that option. We could table that until the June board meeting, and then I can try and get into the county's commissioners meeting at the beginning of June, correct, Nathan?
Yeah, legally you have 60 days to award the contract.
So if you're more comfortable with that, that is an option. We're presenting this information, and if you would like to table it until we have that conversation with the county commissioners, that is definitely a possibility as well. And we can approve this at the next month's meeting.
That sounds like a good idea to me, but
Me too.
Okay. Do we need a motion for that?
Okay.
We
With
would,
that,
I make
sorry.
a,
we would need to officially table that, correct?
Yeah, I don't know that you have to vote on it. You just say you're,
So that would be, well, yeah, no motion's been made yet, so we wouldn't have to do anything, just say we're tabling it to next month. We do need to move forward with the 2 invoices, the CHA invoices. That is for the design that they have already completed, the last 2. So invoice 58412.11-4 for $25,645.60. That is for the design work that was done in March. Sorry to take over your engineer's report, Nathan.
Nope, we're good, all good. Well, I was gonna let you keep going.
So we would need a motion for that invoice.
I'll make that motion.
for both of them?
Just
One at a
dot, yeah, we have to do one at a time. So this would be 11-4.
Okay, I second that.
Okay, Gene second, John made the motion. Any further questions? All in favor signify by aye.
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 None opposed, okay? All right, next.
all right, so then we have a motion for board approval and then signature on CHA invoice 58412.11-5 in the amount of $9,222.20.
Okay, do we hear a motion for CHA invoice 58412.11-5?
I make that motion.
Okay, Gene makes a motion. Second?
Second.
John? Questions?
Nope.
All right, all in favor signify by aye.
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 All right, unanimous, none opposed.
And I think that's it for our report.
All right. Well, with the manager's report, only thing that I'll say is we had a slow we've had a slow couple months in fuel sales. They have picked up. End of April, beginning of May, we've started seeing that summer uptick. We had I'll put it, a semi-successful fly-in, drive-in pancake breakfast. We had a lot of people show up, but the weather was really not conducive for flying in, so we actually had people driving in just because they wanted to come out and support the airport. So we had a lot of fun with it, and, you know, sometimes the weather, we're just at the weather's mercy, and 45, I think the wind was like 32
It
knots,
was pretty
gusting
bad
40
that
or
day,
41, and it just couldn't fly. So we'll try another one later this summer. But unless the board has anything specific, I did have three things, excuse me, I wanted to bring up just to update the board. The first thing was to let the board know, we did finally figure out all of the legalities for the hangar purchase of 6 Golf 6G. We purchased that hangar for $14,500. As you guys remember, you approved up to $15,000 at the last board meeting. The previous owner had done some electrical improvements that we were unaware of, and so when we were working through the hangar and negotiating the price, we took that into consideration as well. So we do have that hangar, and we will be using it right now for overnight storage. So if aircraft come in and need a place to put away for the weekend, we've got a spot that'll fit a small single-engine aircraft. That will open up our larger T-hangar, which can fit a larger twin-engine aircraft for a monthly rental again.
Which hangar was this one again?
6G. So it's across the way. It's part of the other row of T-hangars.
Okay.
So when you're coming in the main gate, when you turn left past where PWI is now, it's the northeast hangar on that row of T's right there.
Same row Ernie's used to be in.
Yep, same side, same
Yeah,
row,
okay.
far north.
Yep.
Ernie's.
Wiggins.
Secondly, quick fuel farm update. We have found another company that may be able to do the project at substantial savings. A pilot flying through heard us talking about it and said, I was just down in an airport near Memphis and they just had a new fuel farm put in by this company. And so we called that airport manager and we're in talks with this new company that we were previously unaware of, to see if they would be interested in giving us a quote on the project to see if we can bring that cost down, because he said their cost was nowhere near the numbers we had been seeing. So if we can get those numbers back down underneath 100,000 where we originally thought, we still might be able to do that project this year. So just wanted to give you an update. We are still working on it. It is what it is. And then I will email you a letter, or this draft, but I've been working on this letter. At the last meeting I brought up, we have a couple tenants, we don't have many, but just a few of them that we have recently found out are no longer have an aircraft inside their hangar. And to make sure that we are maintaining all of our grant assurances and following the rules we need to, we will be sending out a letter. I just have a blank letter that I wrote here. We will be putting in specific hangar owners' information and specifically what the violations are with their lease, and letting them know what they have to do to become in compliance with airport rules and grant assurances. And so I will email you this blank letter later tonight, but I wanted to bring it up if you guys have any questions. My next project is going to be going through and pulling these couple tenants' leases out, and I will detail all of this I'll form each one of these letters for those couple tenants, get them back in front of your, in your view, and then it would be coming from the board. The board would be sending this letter, not me in the airport. So just wanted to let you know that we are diligently working on it. The city attorney has read this and he approves of the base letter and understands, you know, we have so many leases over so many years that each one's just a little bit different. And so to
Right.
make sure all of our i's are dotted and t's are crossed, that's why we have some of the general wording in there right now, but we'll make sure we use the specifics when we send the actual letters out, so. And other than that, that's all I have for the board tonight.
Okay, do we have any other questions from the board?
No.
No.
All right, how about David or Josh? You have questions?
I have a couple, had a hard time explaining to people that the power line, nice looking project and everything, but it's a pretty expensive project. What benefit does that do to the blind community? Is it safety, is it?
Purely safety. So as our runway sits, it was an obstruction to our current runway. No expansion, nothing else. It was an obstruction to our current runway. And so we needed to lower those power lines out of the way to remove that obstruction.
Has anybody ever hit them?
No. But I don't want somebody to hit them either.
It's usually death.
The accountants say if you aren't good enough to control those lines, you shouldn't fly.
See, and
How
I,
answers that?
the easiest way to answer that, Dave, is if you're taking off to the east, and this time of year is a perfect example. If you hit a goose and you lose an engine and a jet, you cannot clear those power lines. So right after takeoff, if you're at 50 or 60 feet and you lose an engine for whatever reason, the power lines where they were too high, and you would have hit those power lines. And so that's the main reason they had to get lowered.
The other question is, if you have money at some point when you do get into a tunnel or a road move or anything,
Yep.
how much more of the displaced runway, what benefit do you gain from that? More runway or what?
So,
Get to use it.
Rob and Nathan, I'm not gonna share my screen for you guys. I'm just gonna pull up Beacon, so Dave can see. That's a great question, and I'm glad you brought that up. We're not in Kentucky, we're in Indiana. So that's a very good question, Dave, and it's a common misconception. So right now, because 100 East is here,
I have trouble hearing.
that's just fine, yep.
No, it's the fan over there. Go ahead.
So because 100 East is where it is, our runway currently starts right here. And so we lose 900 feet on a good day. On days like today, when it's instrument weather, this is where our runway starts over here. And so we actually lose an additional 1,000 feet. So our 6,003 becomes 4,103. And so landing a 70,000 pound aircraft at 140 miles an hour and 4,000 feet in the rain or snow they won't come to Warsaw. And so by burying the road, when people hear runway expansion, we want to use all 6,003 feet that we have at the airport now. In 10 or 15 years, yes, we would like to expand the runway and go out to the east further. But that is our current goal, is to get the full 6,000 feet, because we need that for the aircraft that are based at Warsaw now. We need Nathan and Rob, we're justified for 7,500 feet total right now based on our current aircraft.
I think we were right at 7,000.
7,000, yeah.
The latest, yeah.
So 7,000 feet is what, if you look at the specs that the FAA provides, we need 7,000 for our current aircraft population at Warsaw. 6,000 at least gets us to 80% of that number. 4,100, that's why our fuel sales aren't great, because the big jets just cannot operate out of the airport currently. The power lines were an issue today, but we lowered them enough so that even if we do, I think we did the engineering for a little bit longer than 7,000 feet, but they are as low as they can legally go per the Department of Energy. So any future expansion that we would need to do in the future, those lines will not be an issue. They won't, no, we lowered them enough now that anything we do in the future, they'll be well underneath what we would need them to be. You're welcome.
Because that was, Dave, the power line was the first step.
First step.
Of these progression. Now that that's done, they can pursue the road issue to start gaining. But both of them were obstacles in the FAA's view.
And I'll let Nathan, Rob jumped off, but I'll let Nathan chime in too if I'm over speaking. But in 2019, the FAA, it was 2019 for the RSA memo, Nathan, or was that 2020? Somewhere in there. The FAA came out with a memo. There is a box around every single runway that's called the runway safety area. And you can't have anything within that runway safety area. And that's what triggered the big issue with the road. The FAA wanted to come in and close that road because it is a safety issue, not for the aircraft, but for the people driving on that road. And so that's what's pushed us to try and tunnel the road versus close. We don't want to close the road.
Community doesn't want that road closed.
The airport doesn't want it closed. I don't want it closed. Nobody wants that road closed. And so that's why we've been pushing so hard to try and figure out another alternative other than just closing the road. The FAA is looking at safety first and dollars second. And safety is remove the obstacle. And so the second comes into how much do the different projects cost to them, close the road and make people figure out how to do that. We understand what kind of an issue that is here locally, and nobody here locally supports closing the road. And so that's going to be the reason we're doing all of these projects in the order that we're doing them, is to set the airport up so that we can do a project to basically save 100 East and try and tunnel it. All of our asphalt, that's why we're redoing the east-west runway right now, is so that project is done. We're not asking for federal dollars on that. We really want them to understand we are focusing on 100 East. And so the corporate taxi lane was first, our north-south runway was first, the corporate taxi lane, now taxiway Bravo, next year is taxiway Alpha. So we're trying to bring our pavement standards up, and then that will get us to the point where in 5 or 6 years we can really start looking at long-term solutions for what will happen with 100 East.
Other questions? Josh? Okay. Well, if there are no further questions, I'll call for a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
All right,
Thanks,
we're
Nathan.
adjourned.
Very
Thanks,
good.
everyone.
See ya.
The next meeting,
Oh,
What's the meeting next month?
can the other three
10th?
make that one?
I'm
Yeah.
fine with the 10th.
that would be what
I think it
date?
was the 10th.
It's Tuesday, June 10th. So it would be a couple days after you leave, Dan. Dan's leaving on the 6th. That's my birthday.
I'll be here the 10th.
Yeah, but that's not the date. It's the,
Yeah, June 10th would be the next one. No,
oh, that's
June
May.
10th.
I'm sorry, yeah, it is the 10th.
Are you available also, Steve?
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
We should be.
standard,
Yeah.
you don't need me.
I do need your signature there, though. And Gene, I need your signature on this. too. This is. Oh,
Gary signed one. He signed. Gene
oh,
did.
never mind. Never mind.
I signed mine and sent it
Yeah,
down.
you did.
Definitely.
Dave, did that answer your questions?